And welcome back to the Get Lit podcast, a podcast brought to you by Southern Lighting Solutions. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news and co-founder of Southern Lighting Solutions. I'm here with my business partner, Tarek. We had a little trouble.
He cut in, tried to take it away from me.
No, yes, I did. How dare you? So go ahead. Give me my just desserts or just deserves, whatever you want to call it.
30 minutes, a perfect recording, a perfect podcast. And ours faithfully over here forgot to turn the microphone on.
I humbly prostrate myself before you and beg your forgiveness.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. So we've been having a lot of fun with that over the past week. We did check the microphones this time. We are set. Y'all are going to be getting 2 podcasts
Are you sure?
this week. Yeah, this one's going to be full of that. We do try to have a little fun around here, apparently at my expense. That's fine. I know how to take it. So today we're talking about commercial lighting, just like we did last week, right? So
round two.
Round two. And today we're talking about commercial lighting. Y'all will get this evening, and then our listeners will also be able, after noon tomorrow, to listen about industrial lighting. So first, we're going to roll through commercial again. And we had a good take. Hopefully we'll have another good take.
I got to ask you, what is commercial lighting?
Yeah, so commercial lighting is, no, I'm the one doing the interview, sir. I wish you would calm down. So my friend over here is going to talk about commercial lighting today. And, you know, it is interesting. So I guess you could say getting serious. Yeah, right. Yeah. What's that mean? Like, all right, let's sit forward here.
Yes, let's get ready for this. It's about to go down.
Boy, it's a good start to this one. So, you know, today we're talking about commercial lighting. And one of the interesting things about this is this affects our office as well. It's one of the things that we're doing here. We're going to be upgrading our lights. There's all sorts of variety of commercial lighting. Let's first talk a little bit about what we have to offer.
Well, I think before we jump in, because, you know, people come, they see, why haven't you guys upgraded your lights yet as a light company?
That's fair.
Because we sold everything.
Right.
You know, that was an executive decision.
So we had a little bit here. COVID hit. We had some projects get canceled and things like that. We ended up selling our stock. We are rebooting that project, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Sometime in the next few months, the next 6 weeks or so, we're going to have our stock in here to replace the lights that are here.
We got the upgrades coming, yes.
So that's a good thing. And here we have panels, we have battens, and we have high bays. We're going to be trying all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk. Oh, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about commercially what we have to offer. And I mean, you know, strip can be commercial.
I mean, commercial is just, it's an application of where is it going, because an office can be considered, in certain cases, commercial lighting.
Sure.
Back of house areas, commercial lighting. Even retail or restaurants, you know, a kitchen, commercial lighting. So
let's go with that. So what is interesting about commercial is you have a wide variety of uses in the commercial designation.
Correct.
You know, we talk about restaurants, we talk about retail, we talk about office space. Each one of these is going to bring a different flavor. And even within, you know, each one of these sort of different types of commercial real estate, you might, you know, one restaurant might just be, they might have bright light because they're looking for you to come in and get out, like maybe a Jason's Deli, for instance, or something like that. But a more expensive restaurant might have some softer lighting, trying to create a mood, some ambiance, trying to make you a little hungry. So give us a little bit of background on some experience you have with that and what you might do in the different situations.
So, I mean, you have, let's take a classic, you know, 6-inch can light.
Sure.
You know, if you put an LED, like you said, a Jason's Deli or an office is just going to throw in as many of those lights as possible to light everything up completely. Right. You know, spread it across the board. Then you might look, you know, at a very nice steakhouse, a more, you know, romantic, more high-end dining experience where they have 6-inch can lights as well, but a different color code, a different, you know, dimming capability on the lights themselves, so you can really tune the atmosphere. They're still using the same fixture, just different options.
Right. So,
and they're still commercial.
And we didn't even have to. So that's what's interesting about lighting, and it's one of the things that I mentioned before. I want to mention again. When we talk about lighting, we are talking about a solution, Southern Lighting Solutions.
You got out of your system.
Yeah, well, I did, and it made me feel better. But we're talking about individual solutions to the vision that you're trying to create. And we can do that even with the same light. So one of the things you talked about was different color codes, which we're not just going to come in and put in a bunch of flat panels that are going to push out daylight. That's not what's going to be best for a restaurant trying to create some ambiance. So we may even be able to use the same fixture, keep it simple for you, but use different color variations. So when you've been through those past projects, what are some of the questions you're like? Have you had to ask like a restaurant owner those questions, or was it more like, hey, you've got an upscale restaurant here, you probably should do this?
So that comes down to, does the restaurant owner use an architect and interior designer?
Right.
Usually, if they have used an interior designer, we don't bother. I mean, we talk with the restaurant owner, but we would prefer to talk with the designer.
Right.
Because we can speak a similar language.
Right.
And it's always more fun and more complicated working with designers, because trying to, especially designers that come up with really crazy ideas.
Sure.
I want this look. How do I get there? Well, I'm not too sure. And you got to figure out that process. That's always a fun process.
Right.
Simpler places, you speak to the owner. Okay, this is what you need. This is what we recommend you should use. Are you fine with it?
Right.
Obviously a deli is going to be different than, a burger joint, different to, a little mom and pop Tex-Mex place. I mean, in the end, it's always a bit similar, and we try to ask, do they have any decorative fixtures?
Okay.
That are there as well, any hanging ceiling lamps, any floor lamps, because all of that adds to the flavor, and all of that is additional light that can change the ambience.
Sure. And going back to a previous episode, we've talked about light design, and one of the things that we do here is break down the space in which you are trying to change the light or bring in new ones, and knowing those things, like, do you have a floor lamp there that you want to keep? What kind of fixtures do you have right now? What's the wall color? What's the floor color? That all
there's so many different iterations of stuff. I mean, it's we could talk for hours and hours and hours.
So, if you're a restaurant owner, for instance, or any kind of business owner with commercial real estate, part of our job is to deal with a designer, or if you don't have a designer, we're going to be looking for what's going to best suit your space. So that brings me into retail. One of the things we talked about last time, and sorry, James, we're going to bring you up. You didn't escape round 2. We're going to talk about Sporting Center.
Assuming the mics are on.
Yeah, well, assuming the mics are on.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we've noticed in Sporting Center is that they've done a lot of good things with retail.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
They've got the panels that are giving sort of the good glow or the good light cast across the whole floor. And they've also got some light tracks trying to bring some attention to some things on the walls. One of the things that we would want to do with them is to update some of that stuff. Update those panels to get a cleaner light.
Sure, you'd update the panels, but and I'm glad you brought up the track, because I know one of the first things that we asked James was, what is the purpose of the track lights? The track is there to highlight.
Sure.
What exactly are we highlighting here? And he gave a very good answer. We didn't have enough light, so to speak, on the walls and whatnot. Now, LED fixtures with the technology where it's at would fully cover that. What we would still use the track for is, let's say they had, a special signed jersey from the Saints or from LSU or whomever that they wanted to highlight. That's where we would use track lights.
Right.
To specifically focus in and highlight on that item. You want it to stand out.
Right.
You want it to be like almost like a centerpiece, if you will.
Right. So, that was a centric question that you asked them.
Yes.
About what they wanted to do with their space.
Because they didn't need it, so even now, effectively, well, when we put them, remove it. You just save money. There's no need for it.
Right.
If you want to keep it, that's your business decision to do that.
Sure. And, you know, one of the things is if you want to change some things up, we have solutions for that. We have all sorts of stuff. So, want to get into something that's interesting that we've discussed before, and that is office space / school space, because a lot of what we can do with color temperature is to keep people more efficient and productive. And I see you smiling because you've had experience with this. You've dealt with this before.
We have, and in full disclosure, we did certain experiments.
Okay.
In the summer in a undisclosed location.
Fair enough.
I'm keeping my bases here. Make sure it was not in the United States of America.
Right, and I mean, when we say experiments, it was just nobody was harmed.
No.
And the determination of how effective these lights were. Summer school.
It was summer school.
Okay.
And what effectively that was done, we had one class which had your typical old-fashioned 3,000 Kelvin light that we might have put in a slightly warmer color.
Sure.
We had our 4,000 Kelvin panels, and then we had our typical 6,000 Kelvin panels. Now, the 6,000 Kelvin, they were more of your control because that's what people are used to having, with the fluorescent tubes. So that was your benchmark.
Right.
The 4,000 Kelvin, I should say, we did this study for about 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks to a month. It was done, and what we noticed very accurately was when the kids were in the 6,000 Kelvin room, business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
When they were in the 4,000 Kelvin room, they were more active. They were more social. The work was getting done faster. Whether it was English or mathematics or they were just. And then the 3,000 Kelvin, where one of our teachers, God bless his soul, decided to read them a very boring book. Let me tell you,
it was nap time.
It was nap time.
Right.
It was nap time, and we you could the yawning, the eyes were closing. They were exhausted, and this is at 9 a.m. They should be wide awake.
Sure.
So, and we tried it with all three sets of students just to make sure that this was a common theme, and for the most part, it was.
Sure.
And the whole point is the light itself, the color that you're getting, the Kelvin that you're getting, plays on your circadian rhythm.
Right.
So that's your body's, I guess your internal.
Right. So if it's,
clock.
It's kind of like when you're trying to go to sleep. If you're under the covers, the light is sort of dimmed and warm, you're going to go to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And so, when we're talking about Kelvin, I do want to take a break. They don't directly match up with things like, warm, soft white and bright light and daylight exactly, but that's the idea, is that the higher Kelvin you get, the brighter the light's
the higher Kelvin, and then you have what's called, I think this is a very technical term, I'm not going to dwell on it, it's called your SDCM, which is your macadam step ellipse.
Okay.
Which is basically the quality of the chip itself. The lower the number is to 1, the better the uniformity of the chip, the color. Now, if you have a higher SDCM and you look at them, sometimes you'll see, well, those are all 3,000 Kelvin, but each one you can tell there's a slight difference in the color. You can see it visually with the naked eye.
Right.
The lower you go, you can't discern.
Got it.
So,
interesting. So, when we're talking about those things, and a lot of people have worked in an office scenario where you've got lights that are, that are struggling to stay on, or perhaps there are variable differences in outputs and that kind of thing. One of the things that was, I guess you could say, a residual effect, or something you learn from that study, is that when you have clean light, consistent light, and definitely brighter light, your efficiency is higher.
100%.
So if you're looking at an office space that has older 2x2, fluorescent panels, or 2x4 fluorescent panels, first and foremost, we want to say we have electrician partners and electrical engineer partners who can deal with install. But the fixtures are not as expensive as you think. Even if you don't deal with us, we recommend, just as a point of reference for people for information, light makes way more of a difference than you think.
Sure.
And I mean, it's been discussed in movie. I mean, Joe and the Volcano,
Yeah.
right? From like 1980. You know, he's talking about going to work in that plant and he's complaining bitterly about the light every day.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, that was, Tom Hanks way back when, and they were complaining about it then. So just imagine if you're in 2021, you've got fluorescent panels and they're not working.
And there is such thing as too much light.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I also wanted to cover earlier in the podcast. That's why we're not just going to come in and put a bunch of light in and just blind everybody.
We dealt with a very large installation where the client consultant, had just followed the book with what they needed to do and just done a basic conversion from fluorescent to LED. And we had told them, guys, you're going to have too much light.
Right.
No, we're going to be fine. It's good. Guys, you're going to have too much light.
Right.
No. We want this. Okay.
That's your business decision.
That's your business. And we did a 1-for-1. Okay. But the fixtures themselves, we personally took a bit of a loss on we didn't lose money per se, but we kept the price what it was, but we changed the drivers to have an innate dimming function inside them. We didn't just do a standard on-off driver, which is what most, offices and what are going to use anyways. Nobody really uses the dimmable drivers. So we built those in. We made sure they were there. Because when they turned this place on, you could have suntanned.
Right.
In this office, underneath those lights. And the workers were like, what's going on? No, we can't. Their eyes started hurting.
Right.
And the client came to us and, what's going on? This is not what we wanted. You guys messed up. We said, no. No. We have official letters that we've sent to you. We have documents that we've sent to you. You deferred back to the consultant who told us, you do as we tell you, or we'll find someone else to do it for us.
Right.
So we did it. But after all was said and done, we went and we changed one of the sockets to dimmers. We just put a dimmer on them because they were just your normal dimming function through the actual circuitry itself. Nothing special needed.
Right.
Put the dimmer in, dimmed them down. And the client was like, what?
What is this? What is this magic?
What exactly? What is this magic?
Witchcraft?
Exactly. And it was good because we were bidding on another job and we were having, with the same client, and we got a phone call about an hour after that happened. Well, not me per se, but one of our sales guys that said, I just got a phone call and we've got to be, in this location within the next 2 hours. They've approved our fixtures and fixed the design, and they disqualified everyone else.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, as you can see, we know we have a plan B,
yeah,
and it gets us more work. So,
plan B, plan C, plan you plan. But I mean, this was one of the things where, we knew it was going to backfire in the client's face.
Right.
And it was a very, very important client for us.
Right.
So we made it happen.
Nice. So, and the last thing I want to talk about is we're currently working on some fields. I can't really talk about where because it's not a project that's kind of it's not approved necessarily, but we're doing design for the fields.
Correct.
And one of the things we're trying to do is trying to lessen the number of lights that they need. Find some energy savings for them as well. So, when we're talking about replacing lights in your wherever, your warehouse, your restaurant, your fields, your retail outlet,
sure.
We're talking about trying to bring your overall electric bill down. Plus, we're dealing with less heat, so we're trying to
well, I mean, with fields, it doesn't really matter because they're outside.
Sure.
But
if you're an indoor office space or retail facility with a lot of bodies coming in and out, getting rid of that heat from that light, that's going to help your electric bill.
Absolutely. 100%.
So, we are working on those things. We do the design. We have high bays, low bays. Recommend you go check out our workbenches on those. We have panels, which,
Sure.
you see the 2x2, the 2x4 panels. Those are basically replacements. We have strip. We can do all sorts of crazy things with linear strip.
We have about 250 linear profiles.
Right.
That we can play with.
Right. And we also have, as you mentioned earlier, we have replacements for can lights that are LED, that are self-containing. They have heat sinks built onto them. Great lights, clean light. And of course, those are residential as well, but you can also put them, in lobbies and places like that, places you're trying to make feel homey.
Sure.
In the work environment. So, anything you'd like to add before we wrap it up? We did have the microphones on this time.
They were indeed on. I will say this: I'm looking forward to going a bit through the fields. We won't say which field it is because that was a bit more unique from a design aspect with what went into it.
Sure. Yeah. You had to look at fencing, concrete, grass, dirt. Height of the actual fixtures themselves. We're dealing with specialty spotlights as well. Finding
the specifications to make them compliant with the various different leagues.
I'm glad you said that because that is one of the things that we do. When you talked earlier about doing design for that commercial facility and telling them, you're going to have too much light. One of the things that we do our homework on, especially you as you're doing the design, Tarek dove in on what the national standards were for light from pro down to little league and where they needed to be, which is best for those kids and safety, parents watching. It's the best situation, but we're looking for those standards and what people recommend in those situations.
100%, because the last thing you want is, a football, a soccer ball, a baseball, softball, clonking a little kid in the head because they couldn't see the thing flying towards them.
Right.
And then dealing with very angry soccer moms.
Right, but
dads.
you also don't want to put up 30 LEDs on each pole and these poor kids are, they run out and just disappear into ash because it's so hot. Everybody's like, where did my child go? This is not right.
They went out.
Or maybe a better example is they run out and they're just blinded by the light.
Well, no, I was gonna go back. They went out, played for an hour, came back, and looked like they'd been on the beach for an hour and got tanned.
Right. We're trying to find that good balance. What's the best health, safety, all that stuff put together. So, Mr. Tarek, thank you, sir, for another episode of Get Lit Podcast from Southern Lighting Solutions. Today we talked about commercial lighting.
Yeah, very quickly, yeah.
Yeah, and I was expecting a dig there.
Well, no, I am, because I'm about to tap on the mic, test, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Is it on? Is it on? Again, my name is McHugh David, and I'm a co-founder of Southern Lighting Solutions. I'm also the guy who's supposed to do the producing. Sometimes I forget to turn the mics on. What he's going to find out is I'm going to dig on myself harder for that than he ever will, which may or may not be a good thing.
Or so he thinks.
Oh, yeah, we'll find out. We do appreciate you guys joining us. Please remember, last week we did talk about residential lighting and things that we can do. This next episode that you'll catch, we'll be talking about industrial lighting. Do recommend you go check out our workbench and our podcast. We talked about design there. That is something that we do with each project if it's requested to try to make sure that we're maximizing the efficiency for our client and picking the right fixtures.
Sure.
So again, we appreciate you guys joining us. We will be back tomorrow with industrial lighting. And of course, next week, I think we actually might be unveiling the fields. We're going to have to check and see on that one. If not, I think we're going to be diving into strip and we're going to have some things to show y'all next week. So again, appreciate you guys joining us. We will see you next time.